The great taste trade-off. Why not all high-protein foods succeed? And who's doing it right? Because no one wants to chew through a bar that tastes like drywall just to hit their macros. High-protein everything may be having its moment, from ice cream to cereal to donuts, but there's a dirty little secret in the middle of this functional food revolution. Not all of it tastes good. While 20 grams of protein might look impressive on the label, too often it comes at a price: gritty texture, chalky aftertaste, or a mysterious chewiness that defies nature and common sense. The result? Many high-protein foods never make it past the first bite. Welcome to the taste versus texture dilemma of protein fortification. In the rush to add grams, some brands forget the basics. Food should be enjoyable. And consumers, even the most dedicated macro counters, have limits. Protein fatigue is real, and one too many bad bars or gummy cookies is all it takes to send shoppers right back to the carb aisle. But amid the clutter, some brands are cracking the code and proving that high-protein foods can taste just as good as they perform. Let's start with why this happens. The problem isn't just the protein itself, but how it's processed and balanced with the rest of the formulation. Isolates, especially whey or plant-based proteins, can be hydrophobic, meaning they don't mix well with water, resulting in dry, dense products. Others, like pea or rice protein, bring in bitter, earthy notes that require masking, usually with sweeteners or flavors that introduce their own off notes. Combine that with poor moisture retention and clunky filler ingredients, and suddenly your protein cookie tastes like it was baked 3 years ago and stored in a gym bag. But taste isn't just about flavor. It's about texture, mouthfeel, aftertaste, and that hard-to-describe thing called craveability. Consumers don't want a product that's simply less bad. They want something they'll actually look forward to eating, not tolerate like medicine. And in a competitive market where new high-protein options are launching weekly, second chances are rare. If the first bite disappoints, there probably won't be a second. So, who's doing it right? First up, Quest Nutrition. Love them or hate them, they've become a case study in optimizing the texture of protein bars while balancing fiber, flavor, and satiety. Early Quest bars were dense and chewy, some would say jaw-breaking, but the brand has steadily evolved its formulations to mimic candy bar appeal. Their newer, soft and chewy lines and cookie-style products show a real effort to solve the palatability problem. And they've pulled off something crucial: repeat purchase. You don't become a billion-dollar protein bar company unless people come back for more. Then there's Halo Top, the OG in the protein ice cream space. While early batches were icy and sometimes hard to scoop, the company made fast improvements in both sweetness profile and mouthfeel by optimizing their use of prebiotic fibers and sugar alcohols. It wasn't perfect, but it was good enough to change consumer expectations. They made it okay to eat dessert again, without blowing your macros, and that emotional payoff helped override minor taste flaws. Now, newer brands like NYX and Ri are building on that foundation with even creamier, more indulgent pints that don't taste like compromises at all. On the baked goods front, startups like Eat Me Guilt-Free, Buff Bake, and Sweet Nothings are experimenting with almond flour bases, whey blends, collagen, and coconut oil to create better-tasting muffins, cookies, and brownies that actually feel like treats. Instead of pushing quantity, our brownie has 30 grams of protein. They focus on experience. A product with 10 to 12 grams of protein that tastes amazing is far more likely to succeed than one with 20 that tastes like sandpaper. In the plant-based space, Tuno, plant-based tuna, and Ripple, pea protein milk, have found success by masking strong legume flavors with carefully chosen emulsifiers, fats, and sweeteners. Ripple, for example, uses sunflower oil and monk fruit to soften the edge of pea protein, making their milk alternative creamy and neutral tasting, something almond milk rarely pulls off in protein-fortified form. There's also food tech innovation working behind the scenes. Companies like Perfect Day and Motif Foodworks are using precision fermentation to create animal-free dairy proteins with the same taste and functionality as milk or whey, without the digestive drama. These ingredients can be used to build products that have both the familiar flavor consumers expect and the protein content they're willing to pay for. It's not just about hitting numbers anymore, it's about rebuilding food from the molecule up. The lesson for brands is clear: protein can't come at the cost of pleasure. Consumers want foods that serve their bodies and their taste buds. If you fail on flavor, no amount of nutritional promise will save you. And consumers are catching on. They're becoming more label literate, more vocal, and more experimental. One bad bar doesn't doom the category, but it makes them think twice before trying the next one. That's why texture, sweetness, and mouthfeel are no longer afterthoughts. They're make-or-break features in the protein wars. Going forward, we're likely to see more collaboration between chefs and food scientists, more experimentation with novel protein sources, like pumpkin seed or fermented fungi, and smarter formulation tools that can predict how different ingredients will interact across moisture, flavor, and structure. Because let's be honest, nobody wants to be healthy if it means suffering through a protein pancake that feels like rubber and tastes like regret. In the end, the brands that will win aren't just the ones packing the most protein into their products. They're the ones who can do it without anyone noticing. That's the real test. When your muffin tastes like a muffin and just happens to have 14 grams of protein, you've made a product worth eating, again and again. And that's where indulgence meets impact.